morning, Acadiana. You are watching Local News Live, and we have our volunteer, Bruce Cohen. He is in the newsroom. You're listening to a song from Dixie C. Mixter right now. I'll just stop that. And Bruce, are you there?
I'm there, and not only are we listening to the beautiful tune, but we're listening to the birds in the background singing.
That's right. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic so you can take over that news, Bruce, and those birds won't be so pesky. But thank you so much for doing the news this morning.
Thank you, Matt. Well, good morning, Acadiana. Today is Thursday, April 9th. Thursday, April 9th, 2020. And I want to start off with, of course, most of the news will be centered around the coronavirus or the COVID-19. But I want to start off with something positive in terms of what is happening with this deadly virus. Additional jobless pay set to begin. Unemployed to get $600 more per week from stimulus package by Sam Carlin. Louisiana is set to doling out supercharged unemployment benefits of $600 or more a week, or $600 more a week on Monday, providing the first wave of relief to a staggering number of residents seeking aid as the coronavirus rocks the state's economy. But as benefits begin flowing, officials project no part of Louisiana is on track to run out of hospital beds or ventilators in the coming days. And Governor John Bel Edwards warned Wednesday it will be a long time before things return to normal. Until there is a vaccine and a medication that can treat the virus, prospects that are months or longer away, Edwards said people will likely not see life as you knew it before COVID-19. Although at some point restrictions will be loosened, it remains under exactly what it will look like, Edwards said. The state will rely heavily on the federal government and will need far more testing along with contract tracing and isolation of patients who later test positive, he said. I promise you, no matter what the timeline looks like, it's going to be quicker if everyone follows the stay-at-home order, the governor said. In the meantime, as the order is set to keep thousands of businesses closed until at least April 30th, the Louisiana Workforce Commission will start paying out the extra $600 per week of benefits to unemployed Louisiana workers starting Monday, Edwards said. The scope of Louisiana's coronavirus-induced economic crisis is unprecedented, as reflected by sobering statistics provided by the governor. From March 1st to April 4th, 227,000 people filed for unemployment. For the entire year of 2019, only 103,000 people filed for unemployment benefits, Edwards said. The new money, which comes from a $2.2 trillion federal aid package recently passed by Congress, will come on top of Louisiana's relatively meager state benefit, a maximum of $247 a week. And in a change from normal practice, gig workers, contractors, and self-employed people will be able to tap into the $600 benefit. The huge number of people lining up for or filing for unemployment has overwhelmed Louisiana state offices, and Edwards suggested people file online between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. to try to get through. The move comes as Louisiana experiences what officials hope is the start of the state flattening the curve or slowing the number of coronavirus cases, deaths, and hospitalizations. The state saw its fourth straight day of decreasing numbers of people on ventilators, due partly to hospitals keeping more patients off the machines than initially thought. The number of people hospitalized fell for the first time, though Edwards noted the number of patients under investigation at hospitals is high. The hospitalization data is a bright spot, he indicated. Still, the state recorded 70 deaths for a second straight day on Wednesday, the highest daily number recorded, and Edwards noted that the trajectory of deaths is still high and doesn't match up with what officials would expect to see as other numbers improve. The state has confirmed 652 deaths related to the virus. A disproportionate number of those deaths, about 70%, were Black patients. And Edwards brought Dr. Corey Hebert, the chief medical officer at Dillard University, to address the Gulf at the news conference on Wednesday. Hebert said Black people are not only more likely to have underlying health conditions than other races, but also receive less preventive care. And as the state continues to urge people to stay home and practice social distancing, Hebert said it is important to have representative voices making that call. People know what they need to do, he said. They need to be inspired to move and do them. He also credited the governor with expanding Medicaid to cover nearly 500,000 more Louisiana residents, without which the state would be in a much more dire circumstance. In all, Louisiana has confirmed about 17,000 cases, an increase of 746 on Wednesday. That came as the state received 6,751 new tests for the virus. As the New Orleans area sees improvement in the number of people hospitalized and on ventilators, Edwards said officials are keeping a close watch on the Baton Rouge region, along with the river parishes in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes, as well as Northwest Louisiana. We're watching the entire state, Edwards said. We want to make sure everybody is trending in the right direction. Some areas of the states are behind others. Numbers in the capital area are slightly less alarming, he said. New Orleans was hit hard with the virus early, and other parts of the state could see a later peak, though they will benefit from restrictions being put into place earlier in the outbreak. He said, although nowhere in Louisiana is on track to run out of ventilators or hospital beds in the next 10 days, he can't say anywhere has avoided it entirely yet. The state is setting up a testing site at a Shreveport area Walmart and is sending 45 ventilators to the region, Edwards said. Officials are standing up a similar testing site in LaPlace in St. John the Baptist Parish, which has a dubious distinction as the number one place in the country for deaths per capita. Edwards said a Carnival cruise ship that was set to dock in its home port of New Orleans on Wednesday evening and drop off 300 crew members who would take buses to the old airport terminal to take chartered flights home. Those crew members were on board with an unspecified number of people who tested positive for the virus. They will stay on board unless they need hospitalization, in which case they will go to New Orleans hospitals. Christina Stevens, spokeswoman for the governor, said several hundred people will remain on the ship. Of course, in other coronavirus-related news stories, Acadiana ICU occupancy highest in state. Hospitals lean on surge plans to meet demand by Ben Myers. Lafayette hospital officials said Wednesday they expect surge plans will meet rising demand for intensive care beds from critical coronavirus patients, as new state data showed Acadiana with the highest regional intensive rare occupancy rate in the state. Officials with Lafayette General Health and Our Lady of Lourdes Regional Medical Center announced the previous day they have begun to enact phased surge plans to expand capacity. They elaborated on Wednesday, noting that intensive care bed availability reported by the state does not account for maximum surge capacity. Surge plans phase in added capacity by converting parts of facilities not typically used for intensive care. Lafayette General's 4-phase surge plan, for example, increases the intensive care capacity from 46 to 78 across 3 campuses, according to Amanda Luge, the system's chief medical officer. Lafayette General, which is in its second phase of the surge plan, had 40 intensive care patients on Wednesday, meaning it has room for another 38 if it goes through the next 2 phases. But the state reported only 32 available intensive care beds were available across the 7-parish region. Still, the state reported 12 new admissions to intensive care, bringing the total to 143, along with a sharp rise in the number of newly reported cases. That means Acadiana's existing intensive care beds were 82% occupied, the highest rate among the state's 9 regions. The 67 new cases reported Wednesday in Acadiana marked a 60% increase over new cases reported the day before. That reversed a one-day decline in the number of new reported cases. There were 42 new cases reported Tuesday and 54 the day before that. Daily case counts typically reflect positive results from tests administered several days prior. LUS noted that only a small percentage of newly infected people will require hospitalization, and only a portion of those will need intensive care, with social distancing and stay-at-home mandates extending through the month, assuming residents continue to comply. LUS said she is cautiously optimistic that capacity demands will remain where they are. We can continue to expect to have needs at the level we have right now as that disease progresses through the people that just turned positive, LUS said. We don't anticipate necessarily a large drop-off. As of Wednesday, there were 713 cases reported in Acadiana, which the state health department defines as the parishes of Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, Evangeline, Acadia, Vermilion, and Iberia. The state reported 746 cases on Wednesday, a little more than half the number added on Tuesday. The latest statewide case total was 17,030 with 652 deaths. There were 70 new deaths reported each on Tuesday and Wednesday. The daily increase in the Acadiana case count was driven largely by new cases reported in St. Landry Parish, where the count increased from 60 to 86. Elsewhere in Acadiana, St. Martin Parish continued to show a steep rise in cases. The number of reported cases in the parish stood at 112 on Wednesday, an increase of 75% over 5 days. That was more than double the percentage increase across the state since Saturday. There may be numerous explanations for these numbers, Parish President Chester Cedar said in a statement Tuesday night. Frankly, I have no idea. Superintendents want schools to stay closed by Will Santel. Louisiana Public School Superintendents Wednesday asked Governor John Bel Edwards to extend his school's closure order through the end of the academic year because of the coronavirus. The request significantly boosts chances that classrooms will remain locked for nearly 720,000 public school students, and that the school year will have effectively ended for many students on March 13th, as well as teachers and staff, including myself. By not having students return to school facilities this school year, combined with social distancing intervention, there could be lessening or even prevention of further community spread of the virus, superintendent said in their request to the governor. The Louisiana Association of School Superintendents respectfully request Governor extend the order currently in effect until April 30th, that students and staff not return to the school facilities for the remainder of the scheduled school days in order to keep students and educators safe, it says. Edwards' closure order runs through April 30th. Most schools are set to finish the 2019-20 school year around the third week of May, which has prompted speculation for days that classes are unlikely to resume for such a short period. Governor's office said Wednesday evening it was reviewing the superintendent's message. We're looking at the requests and have been in discussions with stakeholders, including the interim superintendent and members of the BESI board, about the next steps for our school systems, which we hope to be announced soon, said Christina Stevens, a spokeswoman for Edwards, referring to the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, or BESI. The governor's initial order took effect on March 16th, which means students will have missed more than 2 months of instructions if schools remain shuttered. Michael Falk, executive director of the group, said only a few of the state's 69 superintendents objected to the request when he polled school teachers on Wednesday. Falk, former superintendent of the Central School System, said school leaders need to find out how classrooms could benefit from Louisiana's $1.8 billion share of the federal $2.2 trillion stimulus bill. What happens if the governor goes along with the request is unclear. BESI, which sets policies for students statewide, will play a big role in spelling out our next steps. Sandy Holloway, president of the 11-member panel, addressed that student access to food and quality learning will continue. I can assure you that the State Department of Education is working day in and day out in collaboration with district leaders to problem solve, innovate, and make decisions that are in the best interest of all students in our state, Holloway said in a statement. Beth Sino, interim superintendent for the department, noted that the final call on school closures rests with the governor. Even if we close school facilities for safety, it's important that we continue learning, Sino said in a statement. Every community needs a plan for continued learning. The department will continue to support our school systems in the creation of those plans. A total of the 39 of the state's 69 school districts are offering distance learning, while 29 others are providing students with printed material and other resources. The St. Tammany Parish School System did not respond to the state survey. However, what is happening academically varies from district to district, and educators have said they are sure to be wide learning gaps once classes resume. The extended closure has sparked anxiety among students and parents alike. Carrie Griffin-Monica, executive director of the advocacy group Stand for Children, said in a survey by her group last week showed that about 50% of school-age families said their biggest concern was that their child might be falling behind academically or will be ill-prepared for the next school year. These are unprecedented times, and the priority should be ensuring the safety and health of students and educators, Monica said in a statement. This is also a time that calls for great innovation, problem solving, and leadership with regard to how we will answer the call to ensure our students remain fed, both with food and with an education that ensures they are on track rather than slipping behind given the potential school closures for the year. During his daily update Wednesday on the virus, the governor said it was too soon to tell how long the stay-at-home order, with some exceptions, will remain in place for more residents. However, the superintendent's request will make it easier if Edwards decides to keep schools closed because he could cite those closest to classroom operations. Right, and it's time for our first public service announcement of the morning. For the latest COVID-19 updates and information, please visit www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits and related programs. Stop the spread, call instead, #stop the spread. Again, that's www.311lafayette.services, or you can simply call 311 on your phone. If you're a business owner, then you would hit option 2 to find out information about benefits, hopefully helping keep your operations afloat. Okay, let's go back to the news. And let's see. Domestic violence advocates offering help. Groups, pandemic may put survivors at greater risk, by Katie Gagliano. Advocates for survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, and child abuse are raising the alarm in Acadiana communities that the coronavirus pandemic may put survivors at greater risk while home with their abusers for extended periods, and that help is available, virus or no virus. When Governor John Bel Edwards announced a statewide stay-at-home order on March 23rd, Faith House of Acadiana Executive Director Billy Lacombe, says she immediately feared abusers would capitalize on the opportunity to exert control over their victims. Although the order was a needed step to protect communities and lessen the spread of the virus, she said, it has the unintended consequence of isolating victims. Not every home is a safe home, Lacombe said. Faith House is a domestic violence crisis center and shelter that offers services and assistance to women in abusive relationships. The organization serves women in domestic violence situations in Acadia, Hoyoles, Evangeline, Lafayette, St. Landry, Rapides, and Vermilion parishes, according to its website. Lacombe said the organization is aware of domestic violence cases in the region may spike based on the past trends seen during natural disasters such as hurricanes. In those situations, there's typically a slow period before and during the disaster, followed by an increase of calls once survivors can gather themselves, seek help, and plan, she said. The week the stay-at-home order was issued, the organization saw a dip in calls, but by the end of March and the first days of April, Faith House's call volume was up 25% over the previous week's numbers and approaching average volume. Each month, the center fields roughly 500 calls, Lacombe said. According to Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, domestic incident calls between March 23rd and April 7th track closely to last year's numbers. In that roughly 2-week period, deputies responded to 161 domestic calls, arrested 4 suspects, and issued 6 misdemeanor summonses. During the same period in 2019, they responded to 144 calls, made 7 arrests, and issued 1 misdemeanor summons. What sets the coronavirus situation apart is the uncertainty. Chez Hope Executive Director Cherise Picard said, Chez Hope is a family violence crisis center and shelter serving those victims in Assumption, Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Mary parishes, its website said. There's a typical timeline of isolation and disconnect that happens during a natural disaster, but the coronavirus pandemic is unique because there isn't a clear end in sight as of now. The situation is fluid and highly dependent on the virus's spread and pressure on local hospital systems. If there is an improvement, the social distancing isolation practices could extend, she said. It's hard to predict because this is a one-of-a-kind situation, Picard said. I'm 48 years old, and I've never even thought of this. This is something we see on TVs and shows and movies. It's hard to believe if it's real. The director said prolonged isolation is dangerous because of increased proximity to abusers, increased length of time with abusers, lack of outlets, including work and recreation to separate from abusers, and decrease physical contact with friends, family, and coworkers who may be able to offer support. Survivors don't have privacy to get away from their abuser to call for help. The abuser is on top of them. They know what they're doing, and they're listening to everything. These survivors are just trying to make it through day to day, Picard said. The women said the stress of the situation, including possible financial struggles and lost employment, compounds the danger. Abusers use stressors and negative developments as excuses to abuse their victims, Lacombe said. Amity Shaw, Community Development Director with Hearts of Hope, said the stay-at-home order is also dangerous to children in abusive households because they're separated from mandated reporters, including teachers and school counselors, while schools are closed. Hearts of Hope is a critical response agency for physical and sexual child abuse and sexual abuse of adults in Acadia, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Martin, St. Mary, and Vermilion parishes. The group conducts forensic examinations and interviews and offers services and resources to cope with trauma, Shaw said. Children have few avenues to escape abuse or seek help independently, and Shaw cautioned family members, neighbors, and friends to be watchful. Take note if children in the neighborhood are not seen for days, and assist on video calls if you're a family member. The same logic applies for adults in potential crisis situations. Yes. Lacombe and Picard recommended neighbors call 911 if they hear or witness a domestic dispute to check on their neighbors or loved ones at a safe distance or through digital means, and to remind anyone in a crisis that resources are available. It's important more than ever to let people know the services haven't gone away because we've gone indoors, Sean said. Survivors in need of assistance can reach Faith House of Acadiana at 888-411-1333. Shes Hope at 337-828-4200, and Hearts of Hope at 337-233-7273. And I'm sure these homes, the assistance homes, these places, these shelters have websites and or Facebook pages. Again, that's Faith Health of Acadiana, Shays Hope, and Hearts of Hope. Hearts of Hope's 24/7 crisis line remains active and is offering counseling sessions by phone and video feed through secure tele-advocacy portals. Most in-person activity has been canceled, but the Hearts of Hope Center is still prepared to conduct possible emergency interviews in person, she said. Critical sexual assault nurse examiners are still available for dispatch to area hospitals if an assault occurs and the survivor requests a rape kit. Although advocates cannot be at the hospital because of visitor restrictions, they are available by phone to walk the survivor through the hospital process, Shaw said. Lacombe and Picard's similar arrangements have been made at their centers. Group counseling sessions are available, but one-on-one telephone or video counseling sessions are available to develop escape plans and financial savings plans, conduct lethal assessments, and provide a guidance on ways to remain health while in the home, like developing a code word or avoiding rooms with only one exit. Chase Hope and Faith House can also help survivors secure restraining orders against their abusers. Although court proceedings are limited, the domestic violence agencies have worked with area clerks of court to remain updated on new protocols to ensure they can assist survivors, the district said. House support is limited, but still available. Faith House shelter is at full capacity, where Shea Hope's 7-apartment shelter has spaces. Shea Hope is also exploring placements at area hotels and motels if necessary, Picard said. Well, we're almost at the half-hour break, so let's go ahead and read another PSA, and then we'll move on to Day in History and the horoscope, as I call it, or the zodiac. And I'm assuming this is still going on, but you can find out by calling the Louisiana government, or Lafayette government, I should say. Free lunches will be served daily, starting at 11 a.m. at the Robo-Show Center, located at 1990 Eratz Landry Road. You can also call the Robo-Show Center, find out for sure if this is going on today. The Robo-Show Recreation Center is open for to-go lunches. Only a limited number of lunches will be available for pickup for individuals who find themselves suddenly and at no fault of their own unemployed or underemployed due to the COVID crisis. Lunches will be served again today, starting at 11 a.m. Lunches will be served from Walk-On's Sports Bistro, compliments of Drew Brees and the Breeze Dream Foundation. These lunches are on a first-come, first-served basis. Thanks to the Lafayette Fire Department for helping to distribute meals and Lafayette Police Department for helping with traffic security. The Robo-Show Recreation Center is located at 1919 Eratz Landry Road. Okay, and now we turn to the Day in History. Today is Thursday, April 9th, the 100th day of 2020. There are 266 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on April 9th, 1942, during World War II, some 75,000 Philippine and American defenders on Bataan surrendered to Japanese troops, who forced their prisoners into what became known as the Bataan Death March. Thousands died or were killed en route. On this date in 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered his army to Union Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant at the Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. In 1939, singer Marian Anderson performed a concert at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. after being denied the use of Constitution Hall by the Daughters of the American Revolution. In 1969, NASA presented its first 7 astronauts: Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Donald Slayton. Architect Frank Lloyd Wright, 91, died in Phoenix, Arizona on this date in 1959. 1963, British statesman Winston Churchill was proclaimed an honorary U.S. citizen by President John F. Kennedy. Excuse me. Churchill, unable to attend, watched proceedings live on television in his London home. 1968, funeral services, private and public, were held for Martin Luther King Jr. at the Ebenezer Baptist Church and Morehouse College in Atlanta, 5 days after the civil rights leader was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1979, officials declared an end to the crisis involving the 3 Mile Island Unit 2 nuclear reactor in Pennsylvania, 12 days after a partial core meltdown. In 1983, the Space Shuttle Challenger ended its first mission with a safe landing at Edwards Air Force Base in California. In 1992, former Panamanian ruler Manuel Noriega was convicted in Miami of 8 drug and racketeering charges. He served a 17-year U.S. prison sentence. In 2003, jubilant Iraqis celebrated the collapse of Saddam Hussein's regime, beheading a toppled statue of their longtime ruler in downtown Baghdad and embracing American troops as liberators. In 2005, Britain's Prince Charles married longtime love Camilla Parker Bowles, who took the title Duchess of Cornwall. 10 years ago, Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens announced his retirement. His vacancy was filled by Elena Kagan. 5 years ago, President Barack Obama briefly visited Jamaica, where he met with Caribbean leaders and spoke at a town hall of young leaders. The president then flew to Panama City for a summit of Western Hemisphere nations and an historic encounter with Cuban President Raul Castro. 1 year ago, Israelis voted in an election that would bring Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu an historic 5th term. In today's birthdays, we have a historical songwriter and mathematician. Tom Lehrer is 92. I thought he was still alive. You got to listen to this. As a personal note, Tom Lehrer was always my favorite growing up. You have to listen to his songs. You can find them, I'm sure, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Actor Jean-Paul Belmondo is 87. Country singer Margot Smith is 78. Country singer Hal Ketchum is 67. Actress Dennis Quaid is 66. Comedian Jimmy Tingle is 65. Rock singer Kevin Martin from Candlebox is 51. And actress Keisha Knight Pullum is 41. And rock musician Albert Hammond Jr. of The Strokes is 40. Thought for today. Thinking is like living, let's start again. Thinking is like loving or dying. Each of us must do it for ourselves. Quote by Josiah Royce, American philosopher, 1855 to 1916. All right, let's turn to the zodiac, or the horoscope as I call it. For those who are Aries, March 21st through April 19th, think about the good times. Don't let your emotions take charge and cause a problem. Getting along with others is necessary if you want to advance. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th. A change somehow will not reflect what he or she suggested. Be ready to adjust to counter any fallout that may leave you in a precarious position. Gemini, May 21st through June 20th. Curb your habits and take better care of your health. Fitness and diet will make a difference. Don't share personal information or passwords, or someone will take advantage of you. Cancer, June 21st, July 22nd. If something is bothering you, speak out. Keeping your feelings inside will only make situations worse. Be honest and focus on moving forward. A creative project looks promising. Leos, July 23rd through August 22nd, don't expect someone to be forthright about sensitive information that can make or break an important decision. Control your emotions and maintain a reserved demeanor. Discipline and physical endurance will defeat obstacles. Virgos, which includes myself, my birthday, on the 12th of September, communication, travel, and networking events will bring about positive decisions and changes. Follow your heart and do your own thing, regardless of what others do. Put your health and prosperity first. Libras, September 23rd and October 23rd, get involved in activities that challenge you mentally and physically. How you react to others will affect your reputation. Offer kindness and consideration as well as truth. Scorpios, a change of heart will take place if you educate yourself about something. Knowledge is power, and being adaptable will help you achieve whatever you set out to do. Sagittarius, deception regarding joint finances is apparent. Take a close look at contracts and agreements before you commit. Let go of the past and find solace in the future. Capricorns, use your imagination to come up with sound, and that's December 22nd and January 19th, sound solutions. A change may not be on your to-do list, but once you start to make alterations, you will feel comfortable with your decisions. Aquarius, January 20th through February 19th, emotional matters will be difficult to control. When in doubt, retreat, get organized, and work on something that gives you a chance to rethink your next move. And Pisces, February 20th through March 20th, a joint venture will have pros and cons. Before you join consider the costs and each time involved. You may be best off moving forward on your own. The horoscope, as always, is an entertainment feature, folks, and is not based on scientific fact. We must read that disclaimer, but you can certainly believe in it. All right, turning back to the news. Groups partners support local restaurants. This is an uplifting story by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. A good story amongst all the coronavirus stories. One Acadiana is partnering with Eat Lafayette and other agencies to ask residents to order takeout, delivery, or curbside meals from local restaurants on Thursday, today, to support their businesses, those businesses negatively affected by COVID-19. We actually last night ordered from Pizza Artista, which is a local pizza venue. The two organizations are partnering with the United Way of Acadiana and other chambers of commerce and economic development offices in the 9 Paris region for Acadiana to Go, that's GEAUX, an effort to support local restaurants by asking people to order the meals and post photos of them to social media. Restaurants are battling unprecedented challenges at this time, said Troy Wayman, one Acadiana president and CEO. Their grit and perseverance to keep our community safe and fed during the crisis is inspiring. One way to show support for our restaurant community is by participating in hashtag Acadiana2Go. That's hashtag Acadiana2 hashtag Go, GEAUX, this Thursday. Many restaurants have been hit hard in this week since Governor John Bell Edwards announced a stay-at-home order March 23rd in an effort to curb the spread of the coronavirus. He also ordered restaurants and bars to close to the public. Many restaurants have shifted to takeout home delivery, but even those have had to lay off employees, according to a recent survey by One Acadiana and other groups. 2/3 of respondents indicated that businesses was watching spending closely. More than half reported event and order cancellations, concern about their workforce becoming ill, decrease in demand for their products, or the need to adjust work schedules and locations. A 14-day digital fundraiser called the Lost My Tip Fund was launched this week to support downtown Lafayette bar and restaurant employees. Donations can be made to service industry workers via the Lost My Tips Fund page or on Facebook, or through unitedwayofacadiana.org/lostmytips. A list of open restaurants across the region can be found at oneacadiana.org/Acadiana2go, and that's of course GEAUX. All right, moving on, some business news. Leonardo finalizes acquisition of Copter Group AG by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. Aerospace company Leonardo has completed its acquisition of Copter Group AG, which established a North American home in the former Bell helicopter facility last year, Copter officials announced on Wednesday. The $185 million deal, which includes additional earn-out mechanisms linked to milestones in the single-engine helicopter program, calls for Copter with a K to remain an autonomous division of Leonardo. The acquisition helps Leonardo, which opened its Gulf of Mexico support center in Broussard last year, strengthen its position in the rotorcraft sector. Copter will manufacture the single-engine SH-09 helicopter, which will bring new capabilities and modern design to the civil market with a more cost-effective and versatile platform, Leonardo officials said. It replaces Leonardo's efforts to develop its own single-engine helicopter. Copter announced in May its plans to move into the facility near the Lafayette Regional Airport and hire 10 employees this year and 125 by 2025. The State Economic Development Office, which began discussions with Copter in October 2018, offered the company an incentive package that includes a pair of performance-based grants, one of $1.2 million for facility modifications, payable at $200,000 in 2019 and $1 million in 2020, and one of $1.3 million for lease support, payable in 5 annual installments from 2020 through 2024. Copter also received the comprehensive workforce solutions of LED Fast Start and was expected to utilize Louisiana's quality jobs and industrial tax exemption programs, which provides rebates for new direct jobs and capital investment. All right, we'll turn to another public service announcement. This one is from VITA. Individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or have been laid off from employment may qualify unemployment insurance benefits. And I did read an article earlier about how those benefits are going to increase starting next Monday. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and are not able to access an existing online account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solutions Office at 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately. Call again or at a later time to contact one of Louisiana's other local offices for assistance, or go online at laworks.net/downloads/capital WFD/AJC_contacts.pdf. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities for businesses who are seeking temporary, part-time, and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at lafayette.org/helpwanted, or LEADER's virtual job fair page with local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at lafayette.org/jobs. All right, and going back to our news stories. Lafayette man accused of shooting and running over a 64-year-old in St. Landry Parish by Katie Gagliano. A 24-year-old Lafayette man is accused of shooting and running over a 64-year-old man whose body was found abandoned on the state highway near the village of Washington on April 2nd. St. Landry Parish Sheriff Bobby Gidros said deputies determined the death of Stanley L. Altman III involved foul play after his body was found on the side of Louisiana 359 near Washington. An autopsy revealed that he suffered multiple gunshot wounds to the head and body and had injuries consistent with being run over or dragged by a vehicle, the sheriff said. Nicholas Amon, 24, was booked into the St. Landry Parish Jail on counts of second-degree murder and unauthorized use of a movable vehicle, in addition to several drug and weapons counts in Altman's death. His bail is set at $294,000, Gidger's statement said. Altman's family informed deputies 64-year-old was last seen driving to the store with Amon. The duo left in Altman's black 2010 Cadillac SRX, which was later discovered by the Fenton Police Department in a rural area of Jefferson Davis Parish. Amon and a female companion who were found hiding in the grass near the vehicle and were transported to Jefferson Davis Parish Sheriff's Office, Gidger said. Amon's female companion said he picked her up at her home near Washington and was driving erratically, including discharging a firearm inside the vehicle and shooting out the vehicle's rear window. He then lost control in Fenton and crashed, she reportedly said. Bloodstains and a bullet hole were found inside the vehicle. A backpack was confiscated from Amon at the scene, and after obtaining a search warrant, deputies discovered a hidden compartment concealing a Glock 22 pistol, additional gun magazines, assorted drugs, and drug paraphernalia, the sheriff said. Amon was finally arrested on the unauthorized use of a movable charge, pending additional charges. In a statement, he reportedly told officers Altman drew a pistol while the two men were driving. A struggle ensued, and the 64-year-old was shot when the gun accidentally discharged. He did not provide further details and refused to give a complete statement, Goudreau said. Goudreau said the autopsy and details provided by a witness contradict Amon's statement. The witness said they saw Altman in the roadway in LA 359 and saw a person enter the Cadillac and drive over Altman. The autopsy witness details evidence found in Amon's backpack and the Cadillac combined to provide portable cause to arrest Amon on additional charges, the sheriff's statement said. Amon was ultimately booked on counts of second-degree murder, illegal possession of firearm by a convicted felon, unauthorized use of a movable vehicle, possession of Schedule I drugs, possession of Schedule II drugs, possession of Schedule III drugs, and possession of drug paraphernalia, the release said. Okay, Lake Martin lawsuit appeal advances. Issues over public access to boat launch continue by Megan Wyatt. A legal battle that has sparked controversy and contributed to public access problems at Lake Martin will advance in the appeal process. 3 months after hearing arguments about a district judge's ruling in favor of a swamp tour business, a 3-judge panel of the Louisiana Third Circuit Court of Appeal in Lake Charles returned a split vote. The case is now scheduled to go before a 5-judge panel of the appeal court on May 27th. The judges will not hear oral arguments, but will use existing records to publish an opinion in the case, according to a clerk at the courthouse. It is expected to take at least 4 to 6 weeks more before they publish their opinion. Meanwhile, tensions continue to grow among outdoor enthusiasts, elected officials, and those who own property around Lake Martin. And with the closure of the boat launch at the end of February, public access has become an even bigger problem in recent weeks. Court case isn't directly linked or tied to those developments. Lower court's ruling last year in favor of a swamp tour business operating illegally on the shore of the lake has instead created uncertainty about public access to the state lake via the private properties that surround it. In an April 2019 decision, 16th Judicial District Judge Keith Como ruled in favor of Brian Champon's businesses remaining on the shore of the lake, saying the man's rights will be violated if the operation was shut down, and called the zoning ordinance in question poor at best. The St. Martin Parish Council unanimously agreed in May to appeal the ruling, saying local government had an obligation under the Louisiana Constitution to protect the wildlife preserve and public access to the lake. A 3-judge panel of the State Appeals Court heard arguments January 7th on the district judge rulings. The basic situation behind the lawsuit: the property surrounding Lake Martin is zoned only for portable business operations. Champaign, who also operated a portable swamp tour business at one time, obtained the necessary permits and established a permanent structure on the lake that has grown over the years. St. Martin Parish Attorney Alan Duran argued that permits erroneously issued to Champaign for commercial operations in Lake Martin should be revoked. He said Champaign had the right to monetary compensation for losses caused by the error, but the parish had an obligation to protect the sanctity of Lake Martin. Michael Adley, who argued on behalf of Champaign's businesses, said this wasn't a one-time permitting mistake. Multiple permits over multiple years were approved by multiple governing authorities. There didn't seem to be a problem until activists, known as Friends of Lake Martin, pushed the parish government to take action against the business owner. Things have gotten even messier at Lake Martin in the years since the lower court's ruling. Parish and state leaders have argued that they cannot keep up with or make improvements to the land surrounding the lake because taxpayer dollars cannot be set or spent on private land. Meanwhile, private landowners closed a public boat launch on their property at the end of February for fear of lawsuits that could result from those who access the lake using the ramp. That action hasn't just restricted public access to the lake for recreational purposes. It also effectively ended all boat tour operations aside from those happening at Champaign's businesses, and has restricted the state's access to the lake for water testing and upkeep. Since the February closure, landowners said they plan to fix the boat launch and reopen it as a business operation, charging users $8 to $10 to access the lake. Parish President Chester Cedars, who has been trying to negotiate with the landowners, has since discussed the possibility of constructing a new boat launch on another private property on the shore of the lake. It will be at least a few more months before public access is restored to Lake Martin, whether through a new boat launch or through a court opinion that clarifies the rights of Lake Martin stakeholders. The appeals court decision, which is now expected to come this summer, could also go before the Louisiana Supreme Court, although the state's highest court can choose not to hear the case. Okay, and let's move on. I've read a bunch of coronavirus stories. And let's move on to sports. This is an interesting story. A man sues over wrongful conviction. Suit accuses Baton Rouge investigators of misconduct by Joe Guyon Jr. A 59-year-old man exonerated last year after spending 36 years behind bars for a 1982 rape and stabbing in Baton Rouge that he didn't commit is seeking compensation in a federal lawsuit. 36 years in jail. Archie Charlie Williams is suing the city parish, former police detectives, former state police crime lab employees, and East Baton Rouge Parish District Attorney Hiller Moore III, who was an investigator in the office at the time and worked on the rape case. The suit filed by lawyer Jeffrey Mitchell of the Cochran firm, New Orleans, alleges Williams' wrongful conviction was a calculated result of the coordinated efforts of the individual defendants who engaged in reckless and intentional conduct. That conduct was deliberately calculated to and did in fact violate Williams' 14th Amendment right to due process of law, the suit claims. Parish Attorney Andy Dawson said on Wednesday the city parish does not comment on pending litigation. Moore, however, had plenty to say, calling the suit's allegations unsupported, baseless, and false. Each and every one of the allegations in this lawsuit are completely reckless, baseless, and intentionally damaging, he wrote. I will properly and professionally respond to those allegations appropriately with facts and evidence at the appropriate time, and will take action to remove those false allegations from this petition. Williams was convicted in 1983 in the rape and stabbing of a housewife at her home in the 100 Oaks area of Baton Rouge after she identified him in a photographic lineup. 11 of 12 jurors were convicted of his guilt, and a judge sentenced Williams to life without parole. Williams' lawsuit claims former police detectives used unduly suggestive identification procedures that resulted in the victim's unreliable misidentifications of him during several photo lineups. He had not been arrested at that time. And let's move on. Prosecutors have not opposed the request from Williams' attorneys for additional fingerprint testing, and after receiving the results, both sides filed a joint measure to vacate his conviction. Moore apologized to Williams on March 21st, 2019, during a hearing at which Williams' convictions were vacated. He had been found guilty of aggravated rape, aggravated burglary, and attempted first-degree murder. Different descriptions of the attacker also were provided by the victim and her friend, who witnessed part of the crime when she dropped off the victim's daughter at the house after school. Okay, and that's about it for the news. I'm running a little bit over time, but I do want to talk about the house sessions, Downtown Alive or DTA. Downtown Alive house sessions are a series of stay-at-home Friday night concerts for Acadiana, presented by Evangeline Made Bread and organized by Downtown Lafayette. The house sessions are a way for all of us to help keep Acadiana musicians who are out of work due to the ongoing coronavirus situation. The series will support local musicians and make staying home fun. This Friday, tomorrow at 7 p.m., Louis and Ashley Michaud airing live on the Downtown Alive Facebook page, and you can hear them at AOC 1, Cox 15, and LUS 3, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. Local musicians are the backbone of Acadiana's culture, and right now they are losing out on income for canceled gigs. Please, let's support them by sending a tip, purchasing their albums, and donating to the Lost My Gig fundraiser. So that about wraps it up for this morning. I've been Bruce and will always be Bruce. Thank you for tuning in and listening. And please, if this interests you, reading the newspaper for the visually impaired, and for those out there in our community who don't get the newspaper or have access to the news cycle, please volunteer. You can go to our website at aocinc.org, sign up. There should be an application there available for you. Fill out all the information and the times you are available. You can read once a month, once a week, or every day if you wish. It's a fun thing to do, and I really encourage it. I've been doing it since we started the program, and I look forward to it every week, especially now during this shutdown series where we're all at home. I'm actually in my office reading you the newspaper this morning. So please, if you're interested, go to aocinc.org for all the information. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy and be kind to each other. And have a good day.